Welcome back to our channel, History of the Bicol region, Part 4. Spanish forces' arrival in the Bicol region, 1569 to 1898. In 1569, 48 years after Magellan landed in Hominhon, then traveled to Limasawa, where the first Catholic Mass in the Philippines was held on March 31, 1521. In April 27, 1521, he was killed in the island of Mactan. During the battle with Lalapu, the Spanish forces landed in Bicol. Led by Captain Luis Enriquez de Guzman, established control in the region. The areas was organized into Camarines, from Camarin, meaning storage houses. The capital was Nueva Cáceres, now Naga City. Religious transformation. Franciscan order introduces Christianity. Churches and missions spread throughout the province. Then the devotion to Our Lady of Penafrancia began. The devotion to Our Lady of Penafrancia in Bicol began in the early 18th century through a Spanish seminarian named Miguel Robles de Covarrubias. Miguel Robles Covarrubias was studying in the University of Santo Tomas in Manila. When he was a young boy in Spain, he became seriously ill. His mother prayed to Nuestra Señora de Penafrancia, Our Lady of Penafrancia, in Salamanca, Spain, and he recovered. In gratitude, he promised to spread the devotion to her. Years later, after arriving in the Philippines and being assigned to Naga City, then Nueva Cáceres, in Bicol, he fulfilled the promise. The first image. In 1710, he had a replica of the image of Our Lady of Penafrancia in Salamanca, carved locally. The following year, 1711, the image was solemnly transferred from the chapel in Barangay Sabang to the Naga Cathedral. This event became the first translation, procession. Soon after, a tradition developed of transferring the image by river, what is now the famous fluvial procession along the Naga River. This became the highlight of the annual Penafrancia festival. Miracles and answered prayers were attributed to Our Lady of Penafrancia, and devotion spread throughout Bicol. She eventually became known as Itna, Mother, by the Bicolanos. Today, the Penafrancia festival, held every September in Naga City, is the largest Marian celebration in Asia. Economy under Spain was agriculture, rice coconut, abaca, forced labor systems, services hub, which affected many local men. By 1898, Bicolano joined at the Philippine Revolution against Spain. Local elites and commoners participated in the resistance movements. Camarines was split several times administratively into Norte and Sur. Camarines was originally one province called Ambos Camarines. It was permanently divided into Camarines Norte and Camarines Sur in 1919. Number 2809. Ambos Camarines was geographically large and difficult to manage as a single province. Transportation and communication were limited in the early 1900s, making governance from one capital inefficient. Dividing the province made local administration, law enforcement, and public services more manageable. The province had varied terrain, mountains, rivers, coastal areas, which made travel between towns difficult. Northern and southern areas were somewhat isolated from each other. Leaders from different areas pushed for greater autonomy. There were political differences and rivalries between towns in the north and south. Separate provinces allowed local elites to have more control over their own regional affairs. The north and south had different economic centers and priorities. Splitting the province allowed each to focus on its own development need and resources. The American period, 1898 to 1946. The American became involved in the Spanish-Philippine Revolution during the Spanish-American War in 1898. On April 25, 1898, the United States officially declared war on Spain. May 1, 1898, the U.S. Asiatic Squadron, led by Commodore George Dewey, defeated the Spanish fleet in the Battle of Manila Bay in the Philippines. This marked the beginning of direct American involvement in the Philippines. The U.S. originally went to war with Spain because of Spain's harsh rule on Cuba, the explosion of the American battleship USS Maine in Havana Harbor, February 1898, and American economic and political interests. Although the war started in Cuba, The Philippines was also a Spanish colony, so it became a target. Before the American arrived, Filipino revolutionaries led by Emilio Aguinaldo were already fighting Spain since 1896. The revolution was ongoing when the U.S. entered the war. Meanwhile, in 1897, during the Philippine Revolution against Spain, Aguinaldo agreed to the Pact of Biak-na-Bato with the Spanish authorities. Aguinaldo and other revolutionary leaders went into voluntary exile in Hong Kong. Spain paid an indemnity as part of the agreement. Breakdown of the indemnity: 400,000 pesos to be paid to Aguinaldo and other revolutionary leaders. 200,000 pesos to be paid once revolutionary arms were surrendered. 200,000 pesos intended as indemnity for civilians affected by the conflict. The 400,000 pesos was delivered to Aguinaldo and other revolutionary leaders in Hong Kong after their exile. It became the Hong Kong Junta Funds. The second and third installments, 200,000 plus 200,000, were tied to the full surrender of arms. Because fighting did not completely stop and trust collapsed, Spain did not fully and clearly release the remaining amount as stipulated. Some partial payments may have been made locally, but the complete 800,000 under the full term was never fully realized. Both sides accused each other of violating the agreement. Spain claimed not all arms were surrendered. Revolutionaries claimed Spain did not implement reforms and delayed payments. Historically, the pact was partially fulfilled, but not completely carried out. After defeating the Spain's fleet in the Battle of Manila Bay, May 1, 1898, the U.S. brought Emilio Aguinaldo back from exile. In May 1898, Filipinos resumed their revolution and surrounded Manila. On June 12, 1898, Aguinaldo declared Philippine independence. August 13, 1898, Spain secretly agreed to surrender Manila to the U.S., not to Filipino forces. Americans staged a fake battle, mock battle of Manila, to make it look legitimate. Filipino troops excluded from entering Manila. The Treaty of Paris, December 10, 1898, Spain ceded, gave up, the Philippines to the U.S. U.S. paid Spain $20 million. Philippines was transferred from Spanish rule to American control. This angered the Filipino revolutionaries and led to the Philippine-American War, 1899 to 1902. After Spain ceded the Philippines to the U.S. in the Treaty of Paris in December 1898, the U.S. decided to keep the Philippines rather than recognize independence. This led to the Philippine-American War, and Aguinaldo became the leader of Filipino resistance against U.S. rule. War breaks out in 1899 and fighting began in February 4, 1899, near Manila. Filipino forces initially fought in conventional battles but were outmatched by better-armed U.S. troops. The war became brutal. The U.S. harsh counterinsurgency measures, including reconcentration camps, destruction of villages, torture like the water cure. U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt declared the war officially over on July 4, 1902. However, resistance continued in some southern Luzon areas, especially among the Moro groups, for several more years. In March 1901, U.S. General Frederick Funston carried out a daring operation. American troops, with Macabebe Filipino scouts loyal to the U.S., pretended to be prisoners escorted by captors. They infiltrated Aguinaldo's headquarters in Palanan, Isabela, and captured Aguinaldo. Aguinaldo swore an oath of allegiance to the United States in April 1901. His capture significantly weakened organized Filipino resistance. The war officially ended in 1902, though resistance continued in some areas. About 4,000 to 4,200 U.S. soldiers died. 200,000 to 300,000 Filipino, mostly civilians, died, many from famine and disease. The Philippines became a U.S. colony until 1946, when it gained full independence after World War II. World War II, 1942 to 1945. Japanese occupation brought hardships to the land. Guerrilla movements formed in Mount Isarog combined Filipino and American forces. The Philippines was officially liberated in July 5, 1945. Present-day Camarines Sur and Naga City. Tourism growth. Naga City is known as the heart of Bicol. Camarines Peninsula gained international attention being used in reality shows such as in Survivor series. It is the education hub of southern Luzon. From the ancient barangays of Ibalan to the bells of Nueva Cáceres, the fluvial procession of the Penafrancia Camarines Sur is the province shaped by river, faith, resistance, and resilience. It is not only the heart of Bicol geographically, but spiritually and historically. Thank you for watching the History of the Bicol Region Part 4, Camarines Sur. Please don't forget to press the like button, share and subscribe to our channel for more.
Beneath the sun on rolling hills, where rivers dance and forests still, Bob Islands chant to the wind and sky, guardians of earth, spirits nearby. Robotan heroes of ancient lore, told of lands we all adore. Camarines Sur, through time you shine, from the mountains tall to the coastlines fine, through fire and storm.